Welcome back to the I Am Winter Solstice Symposium. And I'm sitting with one of my nearest and dearest friends. And one time, a long time ago, I got this, I don't know if it was a Facebook message, and it was like from somebody I didn't know out of the blue saying, so I'm looking at you and I want to go to Peru with you. And I'm like, who is this? And sure enough, her and her then significant came to Peru with us. And we've been fast friends ever since. I think we fell in love on the trip, and we watched each other and supported each other. And I couldn't be more proud of my friend who's now become a YouTube star. She speaks and everyone jumps, and rightly so, because she's like has a lot of wisdom, a lot of heart, a lot of soul, and a lot of beauty. And I'm honored to call you my friend, Lori Lothian, and you can take it away from here.
Wow, what a beautiful introduction, Renee. Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
we did fall in love first first sight for sure. And it's so funny. Yeah, we were one of those soul friends that just recognized each other. So I wanted to talk today about the top three transits of 2024. It's really hard to narrow these things down. Right, I was like top three transits, but to me, these are going to be the most important game-changing transits of the year. And I wonder if you want me to just talk or show the astrology screen. But at this point, let me just talk first. You have to give me permission to share if people want to see the sky. But there's three things. Yeah, but at this point, I just wanted to say the general theme of why we listen to astrology, what it can give us, why we're bothering with it really, and where we would go with that. And so in 2000, first of all, astrology is like a navigational tool. Really, it's all it is. It's like you can use astrology to, in my quotes, time your best life, but you can also not change your life either. We have divine mind, we have a, intelligent universe that's put us exactly where we need to be. And we've made agreements as souls before we even got here to do certain things and try certain things. So all of that said, you can still use astrology to time your best life, because I liken it to, would I want to go climbing a mountain when I know there's going to be a snowstorm that's devastatingly difficult and I could be going against the grain up the mountain and in great peril? Or would I like to move towards a sunny day for that mountain climb? So like a navigational tool or a weather tool, it helps you move in more flow and alignment and a deeper understanding of the nature of reality, that it's an interactive universe. So the sky is reflecting our reality. It's not creating our reality, but we're also dynamically intersecting. So let me give you like the old alchemical refrain, as above, so below, is also as it is above, so it is below. It goes both ways. We're in an interactive universe. Okay. Consciousness is interacting with reality, and we're making it up as we go along. A lot of it, it's like we're definitely in an interactive participatory universe, but we often forget that. So the reason I'm bringing that comment up, astrology is not a fated forecast of what will happen to any of us. It gives us a way of being more consciously aware of the ways that the energy of the sky is going and how we may be participating with that to our advantage. Okay, so that's my philosophical lecture about the sky. Now, in 2023, a lot of people are excited by the Pluto transit into Aquarius, but we already had that last year, and it's really a 20-year story. So I'm not going to call out that one today as the big thing of 2024. I've got a lot of content on YouTube about that from last year's video selections, and it's still available to go listen to. Unique to 2024 are three things that I think are pretty darn amazing, right? And so for those of you who are new to astrology, I'll try to keep this very simple, and I'll give you tips for your sign as well. Number one, in January, very beginning of the year, Mars is going to become visible in the sign of Capricorn in the Western tropical zodiac. That means that he's been behind the sun, invisible to our eyes for about 4 months, since October, and he's going to be born again. So born again, because when a planet has been behind the sun or conjunct the sun and then rises to visibility, he's now becoming a newborn baby of Mars. Mars, war, courage, passion, drive, directionality, a kind of archetype of the warrior hero within all of us is being born again into a baby new version of himself, now fully visible, like he's visible, but you barely can see him. But astronomically, you will be able to see him if you want to in the middle of January. And in the middle of January, when he becomes visible in Capricorn, he's becoming visible in a very powerful place for him. It literally is what we call a place of his exaltation. So take your favorite superhero, go for it. Superman, Batman, whoever else is out there, Wonder Woman. I mean, because it's not a male energy, right? Mars is just, a planetary body that represents archetypal energy. But pick your favorite superhero. And now we're going to apply the superhero archetype to the Capricorn real estate in your natal sky. You have 12 pie slices in any given sky. Those are called your houses. These 12 houses have 12 signs, Aries through Pisces. Those are the zodiacal constellations or stars that inhabit those 12 pie slices. Each one is 30 degrees. 12 times 30 is 360. It's a circle, right? That's why we get a zodiac. It circles the earth from our vantage point on earth. So wherever your Capricorn zodiacal pie slice is, and I encourage you to use whole sign houses, and you can learn how to do that under any of my YouTube videos at Lunatic Astrology. There's a little tutorial you can click and access how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, just to keep it simple and also ancient and true. That Capricorn whole house sign chunk of real estate in your sky is now super powered. And over the 2 years that follow, that part of your life will be extremely powerful, positive, successful, and good for you. And although it may involve change, because Mars is a cutter, ender, sever of what we don't need to bring what we do need, he does bring change. He comes from a very strong place of exaltation, and that's because he's in Saturn's house where he is exalted. Now I want to give you an example of Mars exalted in Capricorn. Mars was in Capricorn for 6 weeks, as he is every 2 years. And he was going through that sign in the time in Canada during the winter, December of 2021, when we had the truckers convoy in Canada. Some of you know that we had a massive protest where truckers drove across our country, converged on our capital city of Ottawa, and stayed there, parked for a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, honking their horns and protesting vaccine mandates for truckers who sit alone in their cabs of the car. But it became a global movement, and there became trucking movements around the world about people protesting mandated vaccinations. And this was exactly the kind of thing Mars can do. Mars, the warrior, hero, champion, soldier, action taker, in his exaltation in Capricorn. And ironically, Mars rules trucks and truck driving. So it's kind of a comedic version of Mars doing an exalted thing. But now I'm saying it's not so much that January, when he is visible about 5 or 6 degrees of Capricorn, around the 11th, 12th of January, that's not the important point, because it's not just about January. You can say January of 2024 to January 2026, you're going to have a successful part of your life happen, and you can participate with that success. Now, the last time this happened was in January of 1977. So if you go back to January of 77 to January of 79 in your own life, that's the last time this occurred. So maybe it will help if I give you a delineation of, what you can expect from that based on your sign. And then we'll go into the next story. Now, it depends. I can show you the chart if you want. Renee, do you think I should just show people what the sky looks like so they know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Okay, great. So do I have ability to share a screen here?
You do?
Thanks, love. So I will show you rather than me just telling you. You can see it too. Let me get that fully up. And I can see myself, and there it is. I found my chart. Okay. So it's just a basic sky, guys. There's Aries on the eastern horizon. And this is the set for January 22nd. It just happens to be there. No, it doesn't matter what time I picked. It's Mars. He's up at the top of the sky in Capricorn. That's him right here. And we call that rising. Well, he's rising because he's visible, far enough away from the sun to be visible. But he's also sitting up at the top of the sky for a particular placement for Aries. So let's just give you a sort of a quickie version of where you're going to be most successful based on your sign. Now, listen for your sun. Listen for your moon sign. If you know those things, sure, everyone knows their sun sign, but your moon sign too. But your rising sign is your basic identity in this world, and it's more specifically accurate to you. And if you don't know your rising sign, You can cast your chart in whole sign houses on astro.com, astroseek.com. All you need is your birth time. Free software everywhere online lets you do that. All right. So it's not, you don't have to have an astrologer in order to find your rising sign, or apps like Chani or CoStar, especially CoStar. You can get the free app and cast your chart there and see what your rising sign is. So here is the Aries people right here. And all Aries people are going to, sun, moon, or rising, are going to experience 2 years of career success. That's simple. I'm going to keep it simple because we've got 3 things to talk about. So all Aries people will have career success. Sun is categorically career and purpose. Moon can be home and nest and mother stuff, body. But the rising sign is delineating particularly career success. So I'm not going to repeat the meanings of sun, moon, and rising every time. Just say Aries folk get success in their career over the 2 years that follow this January ingress of Mars into Capricorn. And then we have the Taurus people getting all the good success for 2 years, starting in January, in their house of foreign travel, book publishing, foreign lands, foreign shores, spirituality, God, truth, wisdom, the place where you find your meaning and purpose of your life. Also really good success in court matters. You can win at court cases and really do well, or really good success in higher education and academic settings as well. And anybody who's a Gemini person, this energy of 2 years of success is going to be really pulling through your 11th house of over here of good. Oh, sorry, where am I? Sorry, Gemini. Sorry, I apologize. It's been a long day. Through your 8th house of chunky money. So this is not money that you earn, right? This is not your income. This is like you win on a lottery, or you get an inheritance, or maybe you're able to buy a winning stock. This is money that you get in non-earned income sources, or that your partner and you share as a marriage couple, and their resources increase, or they get chunks of money. But for all the Geminis, it's going to be like a chunky money positivity in the 2 years that follow this January's Capricorn rising. I mean, Mars rising. All of the Cancer folk out there will experience an exceptionally successful time in marriage, but also in business partnerships, also in the way you reach out to your audience and marketplace from your career space, if that's something you do. I mean, obviously it doesn't work for someone who's like a backroom programmer, right? It's somebody who needs to reach out to the marketplace or the audience in their course of their work, like selling or sharing or broadcasting stuff. And it's interesting because Mars cuts, and this is one of the only things I'd say about this particular spot in particular. There can be an end or a cutting away in a particular long-term committed love story. But if Mars does cut something here, it's literally like you would cut a gangrene limb off your arm. Right? You don't want that limb. You don't want that rotten wood on the rose bush or on the tree that's killing the whole tree. So this will be, if something ends in the 2 years, the best thing that ever happened to you. Even if you don't agree with it right away, you will be glad up for it afterward. But it will increase your success in those areas of marriage and reaching your audience and significant business partners. And sometimes legal contracts could go very well. Anything you have to sign, any contractual agreements will be successful in the 2 years that follow. Now, for Leo people, the success story is definitely going to be about the work you do in this world. Like this is your 6th house of work and livelihood, and the day-to-day of your work, especially, and your health as well. So better health, because Mars will help you cut away things that make you ill. Mars will help you find new directions in your work and health. Mars is really good here, by the way, for 2 years for Leos of having any surgical procedure to better your health. You know, something you need to do to improve your health with surgery will be very excellent. And you may quit a job or change a job, but that's okay because Mars can end things. But if you quit a job as a Leo, then you're going to find a better job. And the idea of success in work, success in health is a predominant story. And some of you may get a pet because this is the house of pets. And if you get a pet, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be probably a superpowered pet for you. It's going to give you some huge success in some way. And lastly, for Leo's, rental property. If you want to rent a property, you know, be a tenant, or you're a landlord and you want to rent out a property, you'll have great success in areas of rental over the course of the 2 years that follow. And to some degree, the potential to pay off debt, to completely eliminate debt. You have a credit card debt, you have a mortgage, you have something you got to like get rid of. You can eliminate debt quite successfully in the 2 years that follow this rising of Mars. And well, what's that noise, Renee? Did you just drop something?
Oh my God, I thought I was on mute.
Oh, I just heard this. That's
I'm
so funny.
snacking. I'm watching, snacking on popcorn.
Oh, you're killing me, man. That's so funny. I just heard like a clanging sound. Oh, it's been Mercury Day, guys. Before we started this recording, my internet went down. I was in the middle of interviewing someone for my channel. That got cut off, and then I didn't think I was going to get on with Renee today. So it's Mercury Cazimi. We're recording during Mercury in the heart of the sun today. Holy man. Mercury the trickster. Okay, so Virgo people get a rising, powerful reset of goodness for 2 years. Don't forget this was last in 77, 8, 9. So it's ancient since you've had this. And this is about enjoyment of life. This is where you find authentic enthusiasm, joy, and inspiration. Fifth house matters, but also maybe passionate love affairs. And if you're Virgo and maybe your sex life is dry and lackluster, this is going to really pick up some kind of sexuality in your life over the 2 years that follow, and real excitement about pleasure and fun and play and joy. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you've not done it before, this will open up the gates of successful entrepreneurship. And this also can really open up the gateway for creative projects for all the artistic Virgos, having dedication, passion, and success, where you could really make some really big gains in your artistic or creative endeavors. It's really good for all of those things. And the only downside here is that, he's like the antichrist to pregnancy. So if you're a Virgo thinking you want to try to be pregnant, just knowing that Mars is baking in his presence in your house of fertility, he's kind of like the one who terminates things, not starts them. So I would not be trying to get pregnant if you have a timetable of some latitude until at least the fall of 2020. Let me think about 4 or 5. Yeah, 6. Fall into the summer of 2024, 5, 6. So fall of 2025. Then he's going to go invisible again. So between January of this is a really specific prediction, but just go with the flow on this one. You would likely have non-happy results in fertility and conception matters more likely than not. If you try to have a child, conceive a child consciously during the window of just January through to the end of the summer of 2025. So hold off if you can. On the other hand, not to be really, I'm going to go back a minute, not to be really, political here, but should you need to not have a child to change your mind after a conception, you probably will be okay because he's going to exalt you there and you won't be in a place in the world that will not let you do that legally. So things will work out well. Libra, sun, moon, and rising people, in general, the energy of the Mars rising in your 4th house could be extremely powerful for buying and selling real estate, for renting out property because of Saturn over here, meaning that you could rent a property for yourself. You could be, amazing new rental. You could rent out property successfully as a landlord. You could definitely buy property and move, sell, buy real estate. All things to do with property, land, and real estate are very successful. And also, this is called the exile position. People born with Mars here often move from their country of origin and live abroad. They're expats, right? And so you may experience an expat period somehow, maybe in the 2 years that follow this January. Some of you Libras may live abroad. It could be for many reasons. In your chart, it looks like it could be for work, but it could be for lots of reasons that you might wish to live in another country in the 2 years that follow. And if there's anything you need to do around your home to renovate, construct, change, dramatically restructure your home, it can be very successful as well. You could definitely do superior architectural and carpentry type things in your home in the 2 years that follow. So I say breaking ground, building a new home, super powerful for you. And if you want to cut away from ancestral stories, family line, things your family taught you, and that doesn't fit for who I am, I don't believe that anymore. Anything that comes from your family of origin and childhood, you can kind of snip it away, kind of do soul work and get rid of those lingering family curses or ancestral stories. And then all the Scorpio people, and this is your Lord, as it is for Aries. Mars is the planet that rules you. This is going to be a lot of change coming through your 3rd house. I mean, you could literally be spending a couple of years with exalted travel. Third house is short distance travel, but also writing, communicating will be really heightened for you. Definitely writing projects, whether they're, songwriting or word, any kind of writing project can succeed. This is also your online world. So there's a lot of passion, drive, and potency in the online world for you of social media and websites in that third house. And if you really want to learn something new, like say you want to take a new kind of skills-based learning, because you're going to use this stuff, it's really practical, like get a license or something. This is going to also take off for you. And those things that you decide to learn will be very passionate for you. And if you have a sibling relationship that doesn't work for you, you probably can divorce that sibling during the 2 years that follow. Because Mars has cut off the deadwood, right? And this is one of the siblings' houses, particularly younger siblings, but there may be a sort of need to excise from a sibling, or perhaps even go back into a new kind of relationship with that sibling and more, to bring it up to another level rather than just cut it off. But it can be changes in the sibling relationship. And all of you Sagittarius is get a really lovely boost here. When this is a money story for us, you Sagittarius are going to find yourself being able to accelerate and uplift and increase your financial gains, your resources, your money, your income. You may also find yourself doing a lot of spending to do that here, because Mars can be a spender, but you'll spend wisely. You'll be knowing how to spend. It's going to bring you also kind of a solidity around your home situation as you increase your wealth. So some of you may buy a new home or sell a new home, can really open up doors to your world of your domestic private life, ownership of land, or things to do with where you live, being also very powered up by this earnings increase. A lot of times with Mars here, though, you cut foods out of your diet style that you don't want, and you quit the cigarette, the vape, and all those good, bad things that you could have, or your wine or your vodka. So you may quit things that are bad for you, and it's really good for facial stuff, like getting your veneers or your teeth fixed, or, a nose job if you want, because Mars is surgery in the house of the face. Yeah. And lastly, it's called a self-starter placement. So you can become very entrepreneurial. If you haven't tried that yet, it may be the beginning of trying your hand at entrepreneurship and seeing if you like it. And you would probably do very well with this Mars story going on for 2 years to do an entrepreneurial endeavor. For all the Capricorn rising, it's all about you. Obviously, you are Capricorn, but Sun and Moon secondarily. Career for your Sun, Capricorn Sun, Moon, Cappies. It could be about your home life, a new home, things to do with your domestic environment that are dramatically resetting in a positive way. A new beginning, a fresh start that lasts up to 2 years from this January. You can be very Martian right now. Like, you're not going to act like a very reserved, stoic Cap who, withholds his or her thoughts or does not, engage in conflict. Instead, you will be very willing to go to battle for things that you really care about over the next 2 years. You'll have a strong, ferocious warrior activation here. As like the trucker's convoy, you are the trucker's convoy. So this is not always easy for your significant other. If you have a marriage partner already, they might find you to be combative. And so you just be careful with how you address your significant love and business partnerships, because you will not suffer fools gladly, but kindness won't be your first resource. So be careful there, but you can definitely snip, cut, and end those friendships, relationships, and client relationships that no longer work for you. It also looks to me like with this energy, you could very much improve your health through discovering a new form of movement that works for you. I mean, because this is a body, right? And Mars is about motion and movement and directionality. So new forms of physical movement can really be opening up for you. And, with Mars here, other than the fact that you can get inflammation like a rash, or you could cut or burn yourself, in general, Mars injuries, I'm not going to say be careful not to injure yourself for 2 years. That's ridiculous. But if you're going to have a problem, watch out then for things where you're acting rashly or impulsively, especially when it comes to vehicles. So drive carefully, basically, because Saturn is the lord of what Mars is doing in the house of vehicles and short distance trips. So just be more careful and cautious in how you drive. Mars would not put you in a catastrophic car accident because he's exalted. But I'm just saying, on the other hand, be careful nonetheless. And anything else I'd say? No, it's about it. You're going to be on fire, on Saturnian fire for something you're passionate about. Aquarius have a story of the rise of Mars in January in the house of foreign countries and far offshores. You can end up moving to another country for a couple of years with this. You could end up generating a lot of revenue from other countries, like on your international borderless PayPal and Stripe, perhaps, with great passion and ardor. But you can also get rid of all the undoing self-sabotaging stuff that happens to you because you're your own worst enemy. So, whatever you may do to undermine yourself can be cut off and ended. That can include things like addictions, as well as just bad mental habits and patterns. And the 12th house here can definitely look like a passionate new direction in learning for some of you, because Mercury's there and all of that. And squaring the learning axis. So some of you may engage in a big new direction in research, learning, a study of some sort in the 2 years that follow. And you may find that you have, with this Mars in the 12th house energy, some real spiritual activation, like spiritual awakening can happen with this, or spiritual liberation, whatever you want to call it. And if you do that, it's something you're doing because of what you're getting rid of, not what you're adding. Master, how do you carve the perfect elephant every time from a block of jade? Says the student. And the master says, I carve away all that is not elephant. So you carve away all that gets in the way, that distracts you, that is clutter to your spiritual awakening path during the 2 years that follow. It could put you in isolation, but that's okay. You'd be happy to be isolated because you are pursuing some passionate spiritual awakening. And then Pisces, you guys are looking at a story where you're going to find Mars wants you to really excel or expand in your earnings that you'll have directly from your career. Okay, so the greater gains of money, rewards, recognition, accolades, perks from your career are going to be very intense and very powerfully escalating. But on the other hand, you may cut away stuff as well. And this often looks like cutting away and ending friendships and groups of friends, social networks of friends, groups of belonging, chosen tribes of belonging, and no longer being connected to them. You may just like literally exit, or they may exit you. It's okay. It's just like, it's a wholesale pruning of your larger friendship circles. The elder sibling can be in your 11th house. So you may have some either, a rising of that relationship, like a resurrection of a relationship with an elder sibling, if that is needed, for some of you Pisces, a reconstruction of that relationship. You're really looking at the forward direction of your life. How do you want your life to look? 11th house, if you had a genie in a bottle or a fairy godfather, and what were your long range vision boards for your life? 11th house. Well, Mars is going to simply pare it down or simplify it or cut away extraneous, outworn, and no longer a valid belief. So you're really going to find that if you were to compare your vision boards from before Mars rose here and after he rose here, like 2 years later, you'll see a whole different vision for what you want to see in your life. It may be simplified or just maybe changing, right? But you'll be looking at your life through the projection of something new. Maybe if you've been alive long enough, like go all the way back to 1977, 78, 79, that's the last time this kind of change of your long range vision for your life was happening as a Pisces. Now, I'm going to just stop for a sec, come back to me, and just mention a couple of things. So that's the general gist of it. It's much more complicated. I don't have time to go into all the nuances of that rise. I will have that on my YouTube channel in January. But just remember, it's literally a template for change, right? Your life is individual and unique. You're very much like that fingerprint, right? There's something about you that's so original, your original medicine, nobody else has it. So don't say to any astrologer that didn't happen or that doesn't make sense, right? It's not, that's a template for the sign. You are a unique individual. So I'm going to keep reminding people of that story. The next big thing that I want to mention for this year ahead is this electrical charge of two planets that come together in the sky. And that you have not seen these planets come together in the sky, which is Jupiter and Uranus. It's 1941. So if you were born before then and you were, not like under the age of 5, you may have some recollections of how this may have played out for you. But these two planets coming together in tropical Taurus in April, around April 20th at 21 degrees of Taurus, is a synodic cycle. And when I mean synodic, I just mean, if you look at things that move at different rates, right? Like if I'm spinning this finger like this and it's going round and round and round, but then I have another finger going like this, right? These are two planets in their celestial motion around the sun. Every now and then they do this. They intersect each other in their individual motions from our perspective on Earth. And that intersection of two celestial bodies rotating around the sun and looking like they're on top of each other as we gaze through the sky from our position on Earth, right, geocentric, is a conjunction. And that conjunction, therefore, coming together of Jupiter and Uranus happened in 1944, and it will not happen again for another 84 years. So if you're alive for this, yahoo, you chose to do the story of this conjunction. And this conjunction is, although it happens to be exciting and exhilarating, and Jupiter's positive, goodness, and Uranus is change and radical shifts of identity and freedom, even though those two are coming, it's quantum leap. To boil it down, it's a quantum leap energy in essence. And it doesn't matter what sign Jupiter and Uranus come together in, just think quantum leap, radical change, bounteous shifts, or things like that. Sudden prosperity, sudden prosperity. When those two come together, it's not just about April, it's about the next 14 years of your life, because it is a beginning of a synodic cycle. That means it's not going to change its trajectory for another 14 years, because every 14 years, those two do come together, but in different signs. And so this is the sign of Taurus. And over the next, 14 years, your Taurus chunk of real estate, like we just did for Mars, is going to be the most important thing for you. It's going to be the area of greatest change, greatest exhilarating excitement, maybe some sudden prosperity. I know everyone loves those words, sudden prosperity, but it could happen. So if we think about it that way, and you don't think nothing happened to me in the last week of April when this conjunction happened, astrology is stupid. It's not. Astrology is not stupid. You have to understand what it's actually telling you. And it's telling you there's a new area of your chunky real estate of 12 houses in your sky that will be more important to you in the 14 years ahead than have been at any other time of your life. So this is what I want to mention very briefly. I don't have like all day with you guys, but go back to 1985, 86, around there. Let me just think about the exact date. 85, 86. Yeah, around there. 84, 85, 85, 86. There was a conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus in Sagittarius, right here. And then the next time they came together in the sky was 1997 in Aquarius, right here. And the next time they came together was 2011 in Pisces, right here. That simply means that that's the cycle happening every 14 years. And of course, that means it's different parts of your sky that were very important to you in a very pivotal way for goodness, prosperity, expansion, growth, and change for those 14 years. So I'm not going to go back and talk about your past, but you can imagine that, the mid 80s to 97, it was Sagittarius directly getting hit by it, right? And then we Aquarians getting clobbered by this change energy from 1997 to 2011. And then 2010, 11, the Pisces got it all, it was all about them. And this time, this particular conjunction is in Taurus. We skipped Aries, right? It's happening for the Taurians, and their 14 years ahead are going to be radically changing their whole life, their whole identity. But that aside, it means something for all of us. So I'm going to, rather than go through each house meaning, because I have a whole YouTube video out on this. At this point, you can just go to my channel and get this in depth. I'm going to give you more of a sense of it through the triplicities of air and earth. I'm going to go through the triplicities of the air signs, the earth signs, all the different fire signs and stuff. Okay. So we'll give it a gist of it instead. So if you are like any of these particular signs in general, how will this feel? So we're going to go through the Aries, because if you go to my YouTube video, there's a deeper delineation for each sign, but that would take us 2 hours with Renee to do that. So if you're like, will I do triplicities? Is that the way I want to do it? Maybe not. I'm going to change my mind on how I do it. I'm just going to delineate who gets the most impact and who gets the least impact instead, and then go to my channel to get all of the details or whatever you need about that. So you have to think about what we call angularity in astrology. And that is simply that when things are square each other, like a cross. Okay, I'm going to draw with my finger here with my cursor, just my cursor. There is the Taurus people or Taurian energy, and across the way over here opposite, 180 degrees away, is Scorpio. But then up here, Aquarius and Leo make another line, and that makes an equidistant cross. So that's just like the four directions in a medicine wheel, and or the four cardinal winds, and that energy is about change. It's literally like the wheels of your wheel of fortune are spinning, right, grinding away. So really, most strongly impacted by this particular synodic cycle is going to be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarian people. Whether you're listening for your sun, your rising, or your moon, you're going to have a grinding, critical turning point changes in your life, fundamental shifts of home, relationship, career, identity, all are up for grabs. And what's fascinating is when you go back in history and you think, oh, well, what about that Pisces that happened in 2010, 11 to 2024? That was the last time this cycle got kicked into gear. Well, that meant that the signs that were angular, Pisces, Virgo, right? Those guys were like, whoa, this is intense, this change. Gemini and Sag were the ones in the crosshairs of that synodic cycle of dramatic, unexpected, radical shifts, quantum leaps, and change. Now it's going to be what we call the fixed signs, okay? The Gemini, Sag guys, they were the mutables. So these fixed signs don't like change, right? I don't know if you know any Tauruses are stubborn as hell, but Aquarians, I'm one of them, and we don't like change either. We like to hold things in place and keep them the same. And, so the fixed signs don't like change. And yet what is nothing more radical about change than Uranus? It's the unexpected jolt of change. It's the tower in the tarot. You can't plan for it. You can't make it happen. You can't not make it happen. It's like big transpersonal change forces beyond our personal agenda, connected with Jupiter, a benefic planet. So that's the good news about the conjunction. It's a nice conjunction because Jupiter's, working with change in a positive way, because Uranus will conjunct all planets. And my feeling here, I'd say for all of you, and I'm not in the right timeline, so if I put us forward, it might be useful because you can see what it looks like in April, around that's good enough. And we'll get back to the hours for you radically ready to change Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarians, and Leos. So we see the conjunction here, right? It's a little bit past the perfect conjunction, but the gist of it is here. Taurus isn't going to not, your life will not be the same 20 years from now. Nothing will be the same. Nothing will be the same. Everything will be different, and you will be different. More importantly, you will be different. And it's really going to fundamentally change you. And for the Scorpio people, it's going to fundamentally and radically change your relationship to your significant people, your marriage partners, your business partners, and the outreach to your audience and marketplace. It's really good actually for you if you really want to reach a larger audience. Like say you're, putting something into the public, that's really good for you, but it does change the nature of how you relate to significant others in your life. And you may not even begin to imagine what it could be like until this whole journey is done and complete. And if you were an Aquarius rising, it's coming through that fourth house where your home and your homeland and where you reside and your domestic and private life is going to radically change. And you may not you may even recognize yourself, 14 years from now in terms of where you live, what you do in your home, what your home means to you. And this involves property as well as just concepts of home. So literally big changes in land, property, real estate, types of things that could really change your reality significantly. And I would also say for the people who have Aquarius rising, and this is the fourth house of home, this is your family of origin. So it gets you stuck in that. If you have any kind of family of origin junk that really has held you back, and you're really tethered to maybe a victim stance or some kind of really trauma or anything that happens from being alive and it connects to your family of origin, very possibly you're going to radically let it go. Like you're going to cut cords and release and surrender Jupiter and find truth and wisdom through radical change regarding and freedom from your family of origin. I like the word freedom from myself. I think that feels better. And then if you are a Leo person, this is your 10th house. So big changes in your career, big changes in your reputation, big changes in what you think your purpose and career should look like, and big exciting and maybe prosperous changes as well. And now I'm going to say the signs that are least impacted, you get changes, they do matter, but it's not going to rock your world, okay? Are going to be the Aries sun, moon, and rising, the Gemini sun, moon, and rising, the Sag sun, moon, and rising, and the Libra sun, moon, and rising. It's happening. You got your popcorn, you're sitting watching it go on, but you're not like, your whole life doesn't get rattled by this particular synodic cycle. So it's just because you're in what we call semi-sextile inconjunct relationship to the event, or an aversion to the event. It may be more inward change than outward change over the 14 years that follow. And the ones that really love this vibe and are like, bring it on, are the Capricorn sun, moon, and rising people, and the Virgo sun, moon, and rising. You're trying, it brings beautiful opportunities, expansion and growth. You guys are riding the best ride on the midway that you've always wanted to get on top of. You're like, oh my God, I cannot wait to do, the Ferris wheel, the Tower of Doom. So you're enjoying this process a lot. It flows to you. It brings good things to you. It feels prosperously yay for you. And the ones that also like it, but don't necessarily feel as like super duper jazzed, I mean, if I had to say, I don't know, it's like jumping for joy is, kind of the vibe of the signs I just described to you, the ones that are the earth sign flow, Capricorn and Virgo, but it kind of like, a delight, a kind of subtle delight, like, man, I really enjoyed this. This is very delightful, right? It's not a super, jump for joy, but it's delightful to you, is the people who are the Pisces sun, moon, and rising, because you're sextiling the event, and it's the nature of Venus, and it brings subtle grace and beauty and pleasure to your life. And the same thing with the Cancer people. You guys like it too, but it doesn't, again, rock your world. It feels like a gracious bit of delight for you over the next 14 years. The way this delight and all this exuberance for the other, the earth trine people are happening in great detail, it's going to be easily found right now on my channel. It's pinned to my channel to understand the synodic cycle in more depth for your sign. So didn't want to recreate that wheel because it's a long video, and I can't do a long video with you guys today. All right, so back to me for a commercial break. I think that the next most important thing is definitely the Chiron, the wounded healer, meeting with the North Node in the sign of Aries. The North Node is the lunar node. It's where eclipses happen in our sky. It's opposite the South Node. It's called Rahu. It's a head of a serpent cut off from the tail, K2, or the South Node. It has to do with karma. It has to do with destiny. It has to do with change that's very orchestrated at a deeper soul level that you're not in charge of from your personality. But the North Node expands what it touches. So, it's literally like inflates whatever it connects with. And this is the wound, right? The healer and the wound. So Chiron was a centaur. He was shot in the foot by Hercules. An accidental poisoned arrow hit his foot. I think it was Achilles, or I think it was Hercules, but he mentored the heroes and healers of the ancient world, shot him in the foot by mistake. He got in the crossfire, friendly fire, and he could not heal the wound. And then because he was an immortal being, he was in eternal pain. And then he sacrificed his life, and then he got some rewards for the sacrifice. It all worked out. So embedded in Chironic stories are sacrifice, are woundedness, right? But also is the entry point to purpose, because it is our wounds that create our gifts. When we heal the wounds, we have the superior gifts of the wounds. An easy example where you grew up in a traumatic childhood full of, fighting, or, you were literally having to duck abuse or something. Well, you often dissociate, but that creates in that environment an ability to be hyper vigilant as well. So dissociation, prone to fantasy states and inner life, which allows you to be very intuitive and access your inner life. Or hyper vigilant about reading the moods of your parents or people in your family that were distraught or difficult to be with, then you're very intuitive about other people because you've got little hyper vigilant radar going. These are wounds. This is not fun childhood, but you have gifts from them. So Chiron will also show us where the unique gifts are for our life, where we have something special, some original medicine to give the world, but we won't access that spiritual truth until we heal the Chironic wound. And technically, you heal your Chironic wound most deeply around the ages of the late 40s to early 50s, when we have what we call a Chironic return. It really depends on when you were born, where Chiron was, because he has an elliptical orbit, but it's roughly those ages. Now, even if you're younger, it doesn't mean that you're completely, dead in the water. But it is after the age of 50 for most people that we move into more purpose in our lives. In India, they say it's the end of your householder era, and now you're looking for your spiritual truth. And so it is like that energy of finding ourselves looking for deeper meaning and purpose. So I want to talk about what's going on with that for each of us in the year ahead. I have not done a video on YouTube about this yet, and I will probably not get one out until sometime at the end of January. So this is original content for you guys. It's a pretty rare cycle as well. Quite rare, in fact. I think it borders on a 100-year cycle in the sign of Aries. So here you see Chiron in Aries and the North Node in Aries, and they come together earlier in the year, around February the 17th. And here's the story in a nutshell. Let me get them together. Chiron. I lost Chiron because my brain's offline. Oh, at least I'm in February. Okay. Yeah, there they are. They're together at 16 degrees of Aries. And Chiron has been in Aries since 2019 but does not leave until 2026. What this means is that this is a part of our collective reality where we're wounded. And what is Aries but the sign of war, right? So I want you to think about that for a minute. 2019 to 26, war. We have the Ukraine war. We have the conflagration in the Middle East. We'll probably see China, Taiwan next. So we have a collective wound around war. The good news is Chiron was the noble mentor for the warriors and told them not to kill unless necessary and gave them noble edicts for war, like, no war crimes allowed, the Geneva Convention, that's Chiron. And there is this inflammation of Chiron here. He's being expanded. I would say that collectively, some things get worse before they get better. And Chiron and the North Node coming together can look like a real intense moment in our collective history as a species, where things to do with combat, war, fighting can really intensify for the greater good of the healing. But I may be wrong. Maybe whether what it is the chironic impulse for nobleness in conflict rises to the occasion. That would be my hope. In each of our lives, this is going to play out in a different way. It's going to be the Aries part of your sky that has been wounded since 2019 and will be repairing itself by 2026. And in this case, coming to a critical turning point. And the destined healing of a chironic wound in the part of your sky that's represented by Aries. You can see right now the chart is cued to a Capricorn rising. That means it's home, homeland, belongingness, finding the place where you should reside physically in this world, feeling like a place of wounding, and you don't know where you belong since 2019. And this is a turning point in February. Since this is already here, I will ask Renee, if I was whipping through the chart with one or two words, will I have time to tell every sign what the wound healing is for?
Yes, you will. And I'll tell Amy that we're running a couple minutes and
okay.
You're good.
Okay. So what do I get? Do I get like till on the hour? Yeah?
Yes, you can have till on the hour.
Okay. So here we go. So bottom line. I'm going to give you a quickie delineation, right? We're starting with Capricorn because Capricorn's here. I already told you what that was, and we're going to move forward by hours. So all Aquarians like me, the big wound has been in our third house of writing. God, I haven't been able to write a book since 2019. Writing, the social media land, online world, younger sibling relationships, and local neighborhood environments, as well as things to do with the connection you have to your inner goddess. So the part of you that is like the divine feminine goddess aspect of being. And this energy can be very practically wounded. Like, as I said, as simply as an Aquarius, I haven't had time to write since 2019. I used to be fully into my writing. So think about where you need to communicate, write, have great ideas, reach maybe the world through the online platforms, etc. Or if you have a wounded relationship with a younger sibling or a childhood friend, sometimes even cousins, this is a turning point in that area of wounding. Now, my YouTube video will be much more in depth, but this is a good quickie intro. Pisces people, financial wounding. I mean, probably in 2019, you begin to feel some kind of ouchie around your resources, not making enough money, not having a good job, not liking the job you have, not being able to literally get the stuff you need to be thriving in life, resourceful resources and possessions were a wound, and potentially maybe some wounding around things that have to do with your visage, how you look, your face, and feeling wounded by your appearance. But this is going to increase as an intense turning point in February, where there's a pivot towards the healing. And even though the full healing is not to 2026, it's the beginning of turning a corner in this resources, money, earnings wound for you. And your voice in the world, your ability to speak out in the world in some way has been wounded as well. I'm an Aries sun and moon, so I get this one. We've got to deal with a chironic wound that has been around since 2019 in our very sense of identity. No, it's a tough one because it's all very subjective to us Aries people. Other people don't know we feel wounded. We feel interiorly wounded. Like, I'm not sure I like myself. I don't really get myself. Who am I really? Or what, feeling wounded about not knowing how to apply the gifts and talents and purposeful gifts and talents of yourself into this reality, into this world, in every area of your life, but your career, especially up here. So a lot of Aries are dealing with this internal woundedness since 2019, complete by 26, and a big pivot in February. If I have to give an example for me as an Aries sun, I think, am I really going to be an astrological weather girl? And that's going to be on my tombstone. She gave great weekly forecasts, I'm much deeper than that. And so that is an existential wound of identity, being, this astrologer on YouTube. So all of you will feel maybe you don't even share this with anyone. You're dealing with this identity existential wound, and you're going to be pivoting to heal it in February and onward into 26. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising folks, the existential the wound of Chiron is very powerful here. It's a karmic debt wound, or it's past life stuff. It's coming out of the ancestral line. It bakes in stuff from growing up and having family of origin challenges. It's very subtle. So you may be doing something very deep within yourself around this. Like, this is ideal for seeing a real shaman, going on a shamanic journey, finding a mentor, guide, teacher, or healer to help you process stuff that's not easily available to your conscious mind. And this often can look like addictions in the 12th house too, finding yourself dependent on a substance for well-being. And if that happens, then this is going to be turning a corner for you in February. And you'll be surprised, because it's often this kind of chironic healing. You realize, because you overcame that problem, that addiction, that self-sabotaging, you have a special power now, power of determination, a power to help others, who knows, but you'll see that the gift will be there in the healing. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising energy, you got this like chironic wound in the house of friendships. You may have felt since 2019 you don't belong to your social group anymore. You don't really know who your tribe is. You're not even sure you believe in your dreams and wishes for your life, because they're not meaningful enough or purposeful enough. And so you're going to find that turning point kicking in here and showing you what is the new way for you to align with purpose, share your gifts with those groups of friends who appreciate it, with those dreams and wishes being in alignment with the highest calling of your purpose, especially as it applies to the way you gain success in your career. And the Cancer people have the chironic healing of the career and reputation itself. Some of you may have had a reputational crisis sometime since 2019, where you got, some bad vibe on your rep. But also, it's just like you're trying to align purpose. You're deeply trying to align your unique purpose and skills and gifts with the way the world sees you doing the work you do in the world. My sister Nancy, Cancer rising, started doing Reiki healings just at this turning point in 2019 to find a meaningful path, and she's still investigating the deepest way she wants to go. So you're all going to find that this question is becoming answered by the Chironic North Node inflammation and healing of February 2024. Leos are looking for a chironic healing in their 9th house. They just seriously want to find God. Okay, you guys are looking for spiritual truth, wisdom. You want to find the meaning of life. This is Chiron, the guy who wants you to find the meaning and purpose in the house of the meaning and purpose of your life. The best thing I can say is it started in 2019 and it will complete in 26. You'll find the meaning and purpose. There are other meanings to that 9th house, but I won't have time to delineate it. But that's a very central element of this. You might find a religion, a spiritual philosophy, or a calling coming off this cycle, a true calling. And then we have the Virgo folks, and you're going to have a Chironic healing in the house of chunky money, but also sexual intimacy, also things to do with secrets, and also things to do with forbidden zones of life. If there's something that brought you great shame in your life, or you felt shame, betrayal stories playing out, that can heal. And if you need to chironically heal something to do with how you share your resources with a partner, marriage type partner, that's going to be healed as well. Maybe now you're coming to terms with what the right balance is in that relationship. Libras are looking at healing in their significant love relationships, basically marriage, commitment, vows, right? And that since 2019, that part of your sky's been wobbly. And now you're going to find hopefully a February Chironic turnaround, and you will step into some new relationship to others. And that includes business partners and friendships that are important to you. And those are going to turn around in a new way as this healing happens next February. And Scorpios will heal a Chironic wound in the house of work and health. So longstanding health challenges or work that's not in alignment with your purpose will begin to shift dramatically after February of 2026. There's a plane taking off here. I'm on an airfield. And any healings you have to do regarding the word pets is there. And I hate to say it, but I think a lot of Scorpios will find a healing pet, like a support dog or cat as a result of the February turnaround, emotional support pet animal. All right. Sagittarius have a healing of sexuality, romantic love, connections to children, your own children, connections to what inspires you, makes you creative and joyful. And if that joy factor has been in absence since 2019, it's about to turn around in February. But also things to do with a wounded sexuality or romantic energy are about to turn around, and you will find that healing was worth the wait. And Capricorns, this is a nice guy for you. You're going to have a Chironic healing of home and belonging. And that's kind of where I started, isn't it? So, it's like, are you my mother? That old Dr. Seuss book, are you my mother? This is like, are you my home? Are you my home? Are you my home? Is this where I belong? And now the belonging is going to find its way to you. So you'll be belonging again in a place where you feel at home after the February 24th Chironic healing with the North Node. Whew, I pulled it off, Renee.
You just kept talking faster and faster and faster.
I know. But the thing is, you can always change the playback speed on YouTube.
Oh, that's right. Because nobody can run through this quicker than you. I can't wait to read this in, because I was like a lot.
I know.
And you've got lots of great feedback on YouTube, and we'll be sending it out. And, so yeah. I just love you. I adore you. I want to thank you. And I love your new backdrop.
Oh yeah. I have been using it since last year. It's Aries, right? I'm an Aries, and those are my ram's horns.
But it's not a virtual backdrop. It's a real backdrop.
It's virtual. It's one of my. It just uploaded to Zoom a year ago. Yeah.
Oh, because you don't move in it. You must be the high-tech Zoomer now.
Yeah, I guess so. You're right. It doesn't create a lot of interference patterns.
It does not. No. I thought it was behind you. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I do, hopefully we can have a good catch up soon.
Absolutely. And I'll send the replay out to my people on my mailing list this weekend as well, because